You have $40,000. Not 50, not 60, 40. You walk onto a lot and 3 salespeople are ready for you. One selling you a gas car, one selling you a hybrid, one selling you an EV. And here's the thing about 2026. This isn't the conversation it was 3 years ago. The $7,500 federal tax credit that used to make EVs look cheap? Gone. Killed by law in 2025. If you're buying new today, it is not walking through that door with you. Gas prices? Also not what you remember. As of this month, the national average is over $4 a gallon, the highest it's been for this time of year in over a decade, thanks to supply chaos overseas that has nothing to do with what car you drive and everything to do with what you'll pay to fill it. And your electric bill? It's gone up nearly 25% since 2022. Data centers are eating the grid. Your cheap home charging isn't as cheap as it used to be. So the internet will still tell you exactly what to buy. EV owners will tell you gasoline is a burning pile of cash. Gas owners will tell you an EV is just an expensive battery with a warranty countdown. Hybrid owners will smugly tell you they found the loophole. They're all wrong. Or more precisely, they're all answering the wrong question. Because the cheapest car was never the one with the lowest sticker price. It's the one that costs you the least, total, over the next 10 years, after the credit disappears, after the gas price spikes, after the battery ages, after the resale value collapses or holds. So here's what we're going to do. Same driver, same 150,000 miles, 3 completely different cars. One goal, keep the most money in your pocket. And by the end of this, one of these 3 cars, the one you're probably leaning toward right now, might not look so smart anymore. Which one wins? Stick around because the answer changes twice before we get there. Let's set the board. Car A is gas, a traditional internal combustion engine, nothing fancy, the car your dad would approve of. Car B is a hybrid, a gasoline engine paired with an electric motor and a small battery that never needs to be plugged in. Car C is a full battery EV, no engine, no tailpipe, just a battery and a plug. We don't need to pick a specific model yet. Here's what stays identical across all 3. Roughly a $40,000 purchase price, 15,000 miles driven a year, the actual US average, 150,000 miles total, 10 years of ownership, same driver, same insurance market, same financing terms. We are not asking which one of these is more advanced. We're not asking which one is greener. We're asking which ownership structure bleeds you the least. And our first round looks easy, almost too easy. That's usually a warning sign. Round 1, the price you see. Sticker prices, 2026 averages. Gas car around 38,000, hybrid around 40,000, EV around 40,000. Your gut says gas wins. Case closed, right? Not so fast, because a sticker price isn't a purchase price. There's financing, there's APR, there's dealer discounts. There are state-level rebates that still exist even though the federal EV credit doesn't. And this is the part almost every video from 2 years ago gets embarrassingly wrong in 2026. They still subtract $7,500 off the EV's price like that credit is still sitting there. It isn't. That credit expired for vehicles bought after September 30th of 2025. It is dead. If you're financing an EV today, you are financing the full sticker. What is still on the table? A new federal deduction on auto loan interest, worth a few $1,000s over the life of the loan, but only if the EV was assembled in the US. And some states still offer their own rebates, quietly, without the fanfare the old federal credit got. So round 1 on pure numbers, gas edges ahead. But here's the problem with declaring a winner this early. You don't buy a car to leave it in the driveway looking cheap. You buy it to drive it. And every single mile from here on out is going to cost you something.
Round 2. Every mile costs money. This is where the real math starts. Gas car, roughly 30 miles per gallon, 15,000 miles a year. That's 500 gallons. At today's national average, over $4 a gallon, that's real money leaving your account every single week at the pump. Hybrid, 45 to 50 miles per gallon, same 15,000 miles. Suddenly, you're burning a third less fuel than the gas car at the same pump price. EV, roughly 30 kilowatt hours per 100 miles. At the 2026 national electricity rate, about 18.5 cents per kilowatt hour, that turns into a fraction of what the gas car spends, if you can charge at home. Notice I said if. Gas has the simplest system on earth. Pull in, pump, leave. The EV has the lowest energy cost of the 3 in the right situation, and the hybrid sits quietly in between, doing the least dramatic thing possible. Boring, until you run the numbers. But here's what nobody puts in the thumbnail. What happens when gas prices fall back down, the way forecasters say they might by next year? What happens when your electric bill keeps climbing the way it has for 4 straight years? And what happens if you don't even have a driveway to plug into? Same EV, same battery, same efficiency rating on the window sticker. Now put it in front of 3 different Americans. Driver A has a garage in the suburbs, a home charger, and moderate electricity rates, 15 to 20,000 miles a year. Driver B lives in an apartment, no garage, no driveway, no outlet. Every charge happens at a public station, at public station prices, which can run 2 to 3 times what you'd pay at home, 8 to 12,000 miles a year. Driver C is on the road constantly, 25,000 miles a year, a lot of it highway, with charging stops that eat into travel time and availability that isn't guaranteed. Same car, same battery, 3 completely different financial outcomes. For driver A, the EV's math looks fantastic. For driver B, a huge chunk of the cheap electricity advantage evaporates at the public charger. For driver C, the math gets complicated by time, not just money. And this, right here, is where the hybrid, the car nobody puts on a magazine cover, starts getting genuinely interesting. Round 3, the hybrid secret weapon. The hybrid doesn't need a home charger. It doesn't need a public charging network. It doesn't need a massive, expensive battery. It just needs gasoline, regenerative braking, and an electric motor doing the boring, repetitive work the gas engine is bad at. Stop-and-go traffic, low-speed cruising, the first mile out of your driveway. A hybrid doesn't force you to choose between the gas station and the charging station. It quietly uses both worlds and asks nothing extra of your life. But don't let this turn into the hybrid wins. Not yet. A hybrid is mechanically more complex than a simple gas car. It still carries a battery, even a small one. Purchase price can run higher than a comparable gas trim. Long-term repair costs on the hybrid system are a real variable. Not every hybrid on the market has the same fuel economy or the same reliability record, and complexity is its own kind of risk. So the hybrid looks like the safe middle ground. But sometimes the middle ground is exactly where hidden costs like to hide.
Round 4, maintenance, the cost of complexity. Let's line up what each of these actually needs mechanically over 10 years. The gas car needs oil changes, filters, spark plugs, transmission service, exhaust system upkeep, belts, and a cooling system that has to work constantly. The hybrid needs most of that same engine maintenance, but regenerative braking means the brake pads themselves often last dramatically longer because the electric motor is doing a lot of the slowing down for you. The EV skips oil changes entirely. No spark plugs, no traditional exhaust, no conventional engine to maintain at all. If maintenance were the only column on this spreadsheet, the EV would win in a landslide, no contest. But maintenance isn't the same thing as repair risk, and repair risk is where this gets uncomfortable. Round 5, the repair gamble. Fast forward to year 8, 9, 10, right when warranties start running out and things start to age. The gas car's biggest risk is engine or transmission failure, expensive but a well-understood, decades-old problem with a mature repair industry behind it. The hybrid carries that same engine risk, plus the hybrid system itself, the battery, the power electronics, the extra complexity layered on top. The EV's biggest risk sits in the battery pack, the motor, and the electronics. Fewer moving parts overall, but the parts that can fail are often more expensive to replace, and the repair network for them is younger and thinner than the one for gas engines. The question was never which one of these can break. All three can break. The real questions are, how expensive is the failure? How likely is it to actually happen to you, and how much of that risk is still sitting inside a warranty when it does? Battery degradation in EVs is real. Most manufacturers warranty the pack for 8 years, or somewhere around 100,000 miles, and a full pack replacement outside of warranty can run into 5 figures. But that is not the automatic guaranteed fate of every EV owner. Most packs are holding up better through the 2020s than the doom headlines from a few years ago suggested. Treat it as a real calculated risk, not a certainty, and not something to ignore either. And now we've reached the cost that can quietly swallow every dollar we've saved so far. Round 6, depreciation, the silent killer. Picture this. The EV saves you $10,000 in energy costs over the years you own it. Sounds like a win. Write it on the whiteboard, right? But what if that same EV loses $12,000 more in resale value than the gas car does? You didn't save money. You just moved the cost from the gas pump to the used car lot, and it cost you more to move it there. This is exactly what's been happening with a lot of EVs in the last 2 years. With the federal credit gone for new buyers, used EV prices have had to fall to stay competitive, which is great news if you're buying used, and painful if you're the original owner trying to sell. Gas cars depreciate on old, predictable, well-worn curves. Hybrids depreciate somewhere in the middle, usually holding value a bit better because demand for them has stayed steady and hasn't been whipsawed by tax credit politics. EVs have had the most volatile depreciation curve of the three, hit by new model price cuts, the credit disappearing, shifting battery life perception, and how popular any one model is in the used market at the moment you try to sell. Depreciation is not a check you write. That's exactly why people forget to count it. But dollar for dollar, over 10 years, it can be the single biggest cost on this entire list.
The insurance surprise. Here's a cost that doesn't care how many miles you put on the odometer. Insurance depends on the specific model, where you live, your driving record, how expensive that model is to repair, how often that model gets stolen, and what coverage you're carrying. A car that's cheap to fuel is not automatically cheap to insure. EVs in particular often carry higher parts and labor costs after an accident because of battery and sensor repairs, which can push premiums up, model for model, compared to an equivalent gas car. A hybrid isn't automatically the cheapest to insure just because it's the sensible middle choice. An EV isn't automatically the most expensive just because it has a battery. The specific vehicle you pick matters more than the category it belongs to. The 10-year scoreboard. So now, finally, let's put every number on the board at once. Side panel,
10-year total cost of ownership. Rows for purchase price, financing, fuel or electricity, maintenance, insurance, repairs, depreciation, and resale value. Columns for gas, hybrid, EV, with a bottom line 10-year total cost of ownership figure for each. Most people looking at that panel would just circle the smallest number in the bottom row and call it a day. But there's one more variable sitting underneath all of it, and it can flip the entire scoreboard depending on who you actually are. The mileage break-even. At 5,000 miles a year, the EV's energy savings barely register. You're just not driving enough to make up for the higher upfront cost and the steeper depreciation. At 15,000 miles a year, the national average, the EV and hybrid savings start to add up in a meaningful way. At 25,000 miles a year, the gap in operating costs between gas and the other two becomes enormous. Every mile you're not paying $4 a gallon for is a mile working in your favor. The more you drive, the more the variable costs, fuel, electricity, maintenance, dominate the total. The less you drive, the more the fixed costs, purchase price, depreciation, insurance, take over the spreadsheet. Which means the winner isn't one car, it's 3 different winners for 3 different lives.
Driver number 1 drives 5,000 miles a year, a light commute, mostly local errands. For this driver, the fuel savings from an EV or hybrid are too small to ever pay back the higher purchase price and depreciation. The gas car wins, plainly, on the numbers. Driver number 2 drives 20 to 25,000 miles a year and has a home charger. This is the EV's best possible case. Big energy savings, low routine maintenance, all of it compounding over a decade. The EV wins here, clearly. Driver number 3 also drives high mileage, but has no home charger and relies on public infrastructure or long highway stretches. This driver gets the fuel savings without needing to gamble on charging access. The hybrid wins here. There is no single best car. There are different winners for different lives, and the internet keeps trying to sell you one answer for all 3. But here's the twist that almost never makes it into these videos. What if we've been asking the wrong question from the very first minute? What if the smartest financial move isn't gas, hybrid, or EV at all? What if it's the car sitting in your driveway right now? A car that's already paid off, already depreciated as far as it's going to, insured cheaply because it's not new, with a maintenance history you already understand instead of one you're guessing about. Replacing a reliable, paid-off car just to chase fuel savings can be mathematically irrational. You'd be trading a known, sunk cost for a brand new decade of purchase price, financing, insurance, and depreciation, all to save a few $100s a month at the pump or the charger. The math frequently doesn't clear. That single fact is the piece almost every EV versus gas video conveniently skips. Buy an EV if you drive high mileage, have reliable home charging, pay moderate electricity rates, plan to keep the car a long time, and are buying a model with decent resale history. Buy a hybrid if you drive high mileage but don't have convenient charging, want real fuel savings without changing how you live, and want the flexibility of a gas station on every corner. Buy gas if you drive low mileage, want the lowest purchase price, do a lot of long-distance driving, or simply need a specific vehicle that doesn't come as a hybrid or EV. Keep your current car if it's paid off, reliable, cheap to insure, and hasn't got much depreciation left to lose. That, more often than the internet wants to admit, is the actual winning move. So, which one's cheaper? EV, hybrid, gas? Wrong question. The real question is, which one produces the lowest total cost for the way you actually live? Because you were never choosing between 3 cars, you were choosing between 3 different cost structures. Gas gives you maximum flexibility, at the mercy of whatever the pump charges you this month. EV can hand you dramatically lower energy and maintenance costs, if your life is built to use it. Hybrid sits between them, and in 2026, with the federal credit gone, gas prices elevated, and electricity climbing, that middle ground is winning more arguments than it used to. But the biggest financial winner in this whole video might not be any of the 3 new cars we priced out. It might be the car you already own. Because the goal was never to buy the most advanced car. It was never to buy the greenest car. It wasn't even to buy the cheapest car on the lot. It was to spend the least money getting the transportation you actually need.